Welcome everyone to the White Coats and Rice in APAMSA podcast. From roundtable discussions of current health topics to recaps of our panels with distinguished leaders in the healthcare field to even meeting current student leaders within the organizations. This is White Coats and Rice. My name is Kevin Gaw, and I'm a first year medical student at the California University of Science and Medicine in Colton, California, and I am one of the podcast committee members. I will be your host today. I'm excited to introduce our guest, Carol Chen. Carol is a third year undergraduate student at the University of Arizona Tucson and is one of our Region 7 directors. She has previously served on the executive board of the University of Arizona Pre-Health APAMSA chapter, starting as an intern and served as the director of volunteer outreach last academic year, and now the president. She is currently involved in research focused on mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease and serves as one of the co-presidents for the Asian Pacific American Student Council, advocating for the best interests of the APA community on campus. Outside of school, she enjoys rock climbing, crocheting, baking, traveling, painting, exploring cute cafes and restaurants, and spending time with family and friends. We're so glad to have you here today, Carol. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm doing great today. What about you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited that it's the start of fall already, sweater weather. So I'm just like really looking forward to just colder weather.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'm so excited to get to know a little bit more about you. So I guess to start, can you share who you are? Maybe like a brief introduction that like you didn't that wasn't covered, um, and how your unhappy identity played a role in your upbringing and who you are today, and how it continues to play that role in who you are.
Okay, yeah. Okay, great question. I mentioned before I'm Chinese American. So both my parents, they were born in China, they grew up in China, and then they moved to America, and then I was born here. So, like growing up, there was this like kind of struggle with identity that I think is so common with like people in my situation or like a lot of other Asian Americans, where you don't feel like Chinese enough to be with the Chinese people, not American enough to be with the Americans. I think I've heard this so many times, and it's cliche, but it's true. I feel like that's the way that a lot of us feel when we're growing up. And like I remember when I was younger, I was pretty like I guess ashamed of my cultural heritage just because I was surrounded by a lot of people who did not speak Mandarin, did not eat the same foods that I was eating as a child. And I think that really created a lot of like self-hate. But I think like as I was getting older and like getting more involved with the Asian community through my Chinese school, and especially through the COVID pandemic, I think I really realized the importance of like my Chinese heritage to me. And I've been trying to like continue keep this connection, which I think is hard. Now that I'm not living with my parents anymore, when I talk to my parents, I usually speak in Mandarin, but now that I'm living like away from them, I don't use Mandarin as much as I used to. And like I guess like one of my biggest fears is like losing this language completely. I know like for a lot of Chinese Americans, speaking, like listening is usually fine, but like reading, writing is where like a lot of difficulties lie, and that's the same for me. I can't read, I can't write very well, but I can usually speak and like listen pretty well, like understand pretty well, but I'm scared of even losing that connection with my cultural heritage. So I've been trying to call my parents a little more, call my grandparents, make sure that I'm still keeping that connection like sound, even if I can't be there physically as much as was able to when I was younger. And I think like food is a huge thing in the Asian community for Chinese like for me I'm vegetarian, so a lot of the foods that my family really likes to eat at huge celebrations contains a lot of meat, so it's like also something that I've dealt with, where a lot of the cultural foods that are very important to my family and like celebrations is something that I can't really eat. So that's something that I've been trying to figure out how I can like mend that relationship between that gap, between not being able to experience the same, like consume the same type of foods and have that same type of connection while also like still meeting my dietary needs. I think like I've been able to kind of work on that a little bit because my parents have been really understanding. So whenever they do make something that has meat, they usually like to incorporate like a different version that's vegetarian. And there's a lot of like vegetarian dishes out there, like Chinese vegetarian dishes, but like just the one specific to my family, they usually do contain a lot of meat. So they've been trying to incorporate something to accommodate me, and I think that's been really helpful as well for like navigating identity.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that it's really important to kind of highlight that because it just kind of goes into this topic of like, representation does matter because you kind of need that space where you do feel like you belong. And I'm hoping that APAMSA has kind of become that for you in some way, shape, or form. And I think that, it's almost like this obviously you have your family and you have another family within like all of these like and happy communities. Yeah, just thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important. Next, can you share a bit about your journey into APAMSA and what motivated you to get involved?
Yeah, so um, my story begins in my freshman year of college. So when I first came to the University of Arizona is a large public university. So there's a lot of clubs on campus, and I was trying to figure out like what clubs I should join, and then like how would I find my place on this huge campus. And I went to a couple of different club meetings, but I didn't really see myself fitting in as much as I wanted to. So I impulsively decided to go to an APAMSA meeting. I just saw an Instagram story on someone's page about the first general meeting, and I decided to go. And I think like from there, I was really struck by how welcoming everyone was. Like even though it was my first meeting, I didn't know anyone. Like people came up to me and talked to me and asked about how my school year was going, which I didn't really have, like I didn't really experience through the other clubs. And like I felt like everyone in the club made an effort to get to know me, and like through the events I got really integrated in that community, and I think like I just was able to find like such an amazing group of people that really inspires me to do better.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm glad that you were part of APAMSA and APAMSA welcomed you with open arms. I guess a little more broadly regarding your experience in Arizona and growing up in Phoenix and Tucson, how has your experience in Arizona kind of shaped who you are and your college experience?
Yeah, so Phoenix, the for people who aren't very like knowledgeable about like Arizona in general, so Phoenix, the large public university like that most students in Phoenix go to is ASU just because it's closer in location. And then Tucson has like the University of Arizona at Tucson. So a lot of people like go from Tucson end up at the U of A. So like in Phoenix, I grew up not in Phoenix proper, like in one of the suburbs, so in Chandler, Arizona, actually. But a lot of my classmates ended up going to ASU, and then only a couple people that I like went to high school with went to Tucson. So it was a little different because I didn't really know that many people coming in, and a lot of the people that I did know like had different interests. But I think something that did help with the transition was I did go to a pretty large high school. So it's not super unfamiliar to me to not know everyone on campus. I know it was like much harder for some of my friends who went to a small high school, but I think it was also a great experience for me to go from like somewhere that was really close to home, where I saw my parents every day, and my family, to somewhere that got a little more independence, but I could still rely on my family if I needed to, since Tucson and Phoenix is only about 2 hours away.
That's great. Yeah. I had a very similar experience, so I completely understand kind of being close to family, but not too far, where you can still rely on that connection, which is like almost essential in your college experience. So I'm glad you had that. Regarding like the Happy community and your connection to that, how is that or was that like growing up in Arizona? And was it different in comparison to Phoenix versus like Tucson?
Yeah, for sure. So I think something that really surprises people who aren't from Arizona is there's actually like a pretty large and robust immigrant, like Asian immigrant population here in Arizona. So where I'm from, especially in like the Chandler Gilbert area, there's a pretty big like Chinese American population. So growing up, I went to Chinese school on the like on the weekends, and my family was pretty involved in like the local like Chinese. With the local Chinese community. So I grew up with a lot of Asian influence in my life, which is not the same case for a lot of people. So I was always able to like kind of rely on that. And I was pretty close to my culture growing up. But like in college, it was a little different since Tucson also has like a pretty big Asian community. However, it's like much different from the one that I grew up with since I wasn't really familiar with any people here. None of like the community was completely new to me. So how I got involved with the community here was through a college club. So APAMSA was my introduction to the Asian community on campus. And then through that, I got involved with like formerly known as APASA. So through that, I was able to meet a lot of different like people from the unhappy community through APASA. And then like from that, it just kind of snowballs into meeting more people out in the community.
That's great. I love that you kind of had, that and happy community to rely on as well. Like no matter where you went, whether it was bigger or smaller, you kind of could rely on that and have them as someone you can turn to. In terms of, you kind of touched on regarding a PAMSA and like you saw this event or this ad on Instagram or people were inviting you and you went to this meeting and everyone was already welcoming you. Is there anything else that maybe like drew you to a PAMSA or maybe made you stay?
Yes, that's a great question because at the U of A is known as like the pre-med college for like Arizona people. So we have three main public universities, ASU, NAU, and U of A. So U of A is typically considered where all the pre-meds go. So as someone who was pre-med in my freshman year, I was looking for like a lot of these pre-med clubs to try to find like opportunities and people who are interested in the same like profession as I was. And there's a lot of those clubs on campus, and a lot of them have great resources. But I think APAMSA really helped like find that bridge between my identity, my cultural identity, and also like my professional goals. And I think like the people in it's the people that make me stay. I think the people have great aspirations and they're accomplishing great things. And being able to like see all of that with people who are like really close to me, that really like inspires me and like makes me feel like I'm part of this community that is doing good. And I think what's really special about APAMSA to me, like over the other pre-med clubs that I've been a part of, is that like the connections between people. Like just to give a little more context, UA Pre-Health APAMSA, like we have no membership requirements, so no dues. You don't have to attend certain like number of clubs in order to be considered like an active member, which a lot of the other pre-med clubs do have. So I think also like this promotes like inclusivity, which is something that like really stood out to me.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, because membership dues is such a hindrance for some like clubs and organizations. I know like it was hard to, you know, want to be part of something that maybe had like over 100 like dollar dues or anything like that. So I love that your organization and the club is doing that as part of that inclusivity practice. Do you have any specific memory or core memory being part of a PAMSA, maybe an event or project that really stuck with you that you'd like to share?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's hard to just pick one, but I think what really stood out to me was like doing my internship program in my freshman year. So, like a lot of clubs have like you can be an intern to an executive board member, and then that kind of like puts you on the right path to eventually be an executive board member. So I did that the internship program my freshman spring semester, and that really let me see like what goes on behind the scenes of a college club to kind of keep it running. And it was super different from what I was used to in high school. So like in high school, you had positions, they were doing things, but a lot of it's still managed by like if you're a school organization, a lot of that was still managed by like a teacher or an adult. But now in college, it's like completely student run. And it was really fascinating to see how much work goes behind everything. And I think being an intern helped me like make connections between eBoard, other interns in my cohort, and then it gave me a lot of opportunity to like just grow as a person, both like professionally and socially. And I think like the internship program really led me down like a lot of other opportunities that APAMSA brought me. But yeah, definitely internship program was like the highlight.
That's good to hear. And kind of segueing into your roles through APAM, so whether it is like at your local chapter or like at the national level, I kind of want to know where like this drive is coming from. You know, you said you started as an intern, you went to director of volunteer outreach and now the president, alongside being Region 7 director. So what is keeping you like going, I guess, this drive to want to do more, to give back to APAMSA or just help lead others within the organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think what really drives me to continue giving back is like all that the organization has already given me. So, I think APAMS, like joining APAMSA was one of the most like defining decisions I've made in undergrad, which seems really extreme, but I think it really did like have a snowball effect. And I think it's got me a lot of opportunities. It made me a lot more confident in my leaders as like my ability as a leader. So I think just like the drive comes from being able to help other people experience the same like type of welcoming love that APAMSA gave me when I was in their shoes as a freshman. And I love being able to like know that I'm making a tangible difference on people's lives. I think being able to hear confirmation from members or other people in the organization that we are doing great work really inspires me to keep going because I know that like my work is not unseen and it has an impact on people.
I love that. Great to hear. And I think I can definitely agree with that as well. I unfortunately was not part of like a PAMSA chapter during my undergrad. To my knowledge, I don't believe we had one.
Mhm.
So this is kind of like my first time entering into the PAMSA realm. And it honestly, the way you describe it is exactly how it feels. Like everyone is just very welcoming and so like ready to uplift others, share their experience, and like network, just get to know each other, be friends, and even if it is like someone across the country, it's just an amazing feeling. So I can definitely agree with that. So in terms of your leadership at the national level as Region 7 director, right? You one of the goals you had set out was to strengthen relations across all the chapters within the region. How do you see yourself approaching, you know, building those stronger connections, not only between those chapters, but maybe even among the members within those chapters?
Okay, yeah, good question. So, Region 7 spans a pretty large like landmass. It like has a lot of states under its region, but a lot of the chapters are focused centrally in Arizona. So, in order to start making that change, or like start making stronger connections, I think it was best to start locally. So, what I was doing as like UA pre-health at PAMSA was to try to like increase connections from there. So I know there's another pre-health chapter that recently started in Region 7, pre-health ASU. So we're trying to do like collaborations between both of our pre-health chapters. And then also we have like a sister medical school chapter, so like ComT and ComP, College of Medicine Tucson and College of Medicine Phoenix. So we're trying to do collaborations between these schools as well, since a lot of the events we're doing require like a medical student. So just building connections from like a very chapter level, I think that will have like a ripple effect through like the other chapters throughout Region 7. And I think the other Region 7 directors and I have similar goals. We all want to increase relations. So we've been like emailing, we created like a spreadsheet that allows people to share contact information with others in case they are interested in like hosting collaborations. And I think like trying to engage people through newsletters, our Instagram, and like really spotlighting our region chapter, our each of our individual chapters is how we can start building stronger connections.
Yeah, amazing. Starting at the local level and just increasing from there. That is something that I will obviously take into my own account. I'm trying to reestablish, or we have just reestablished our own chapter at our medical school. And so we're trying to find the connections, kind of like you kind of just suggested and recommended, and build our relations within the chapters in our region, and then go from there. So amazing. I love that. Regarding your time serving on national board, has there been any kind of like you shared earlier with a specific moment or core memory? Is there something that you would say was the most rewarding part so far serving on national board, or maybe a core memory as well?
Yeah, so for like the main job, I'd say of a region director is to plan and host like a region conference. So for us this year, we're combining with Region 8. So we're going to do a joint Region 7 and Region 8 conference on October 18th, 2025. And I've been helping like alongside other region directors or other Region 7 and other Region 8 directors and UCI like members, like APAMSA members, we've been working on planning this conference for the past couple of months, and we are so close to actually having the conference. And I think it's been really rewarding to work towards this huge goal since I've attended last year's Region 7 conference, and this year being able to like work behind the scenes and do all the planning behind that. I think that's super like rewarding for me, especially since my chapter is planning on taking a bunch of our undergrads to attend the conference. I think being able to experience both sides is really rewarding for me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I am actually going to be going to the Region 7 and 8 conference as well. I don't know if you will be there.
Mhm.
But if you are, or even some of your chapter members, I'll would look forward to meeting you guys in person. We're planning on taking a few of our members as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. Everything looks amazing. I've already seen parts of the schedule, and I'm super excited for it as well. It'll be my first regional conference. So I'm really
That's
looking forward to
exciting.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will be there. So
Okay,
that's very
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah, I would love to, after this we'll connect even more and try to meet up and plan a time. I'm sure we'll run into each other regardless.
Yeah.
So a little bit more on like the challenges you might have faced. Is there a specific challenge that specific to your leadership, whether it is as president of your chapter or Region 7 director that you faced, and how you might have worked through that?
Good question. I think probably like one of the biggest challenges I've faced is kind of like overcoming my own fear. I think like naturally I'm a very shy, a very introverted person, which like surprises a lot of people because I've like been in so many of these leadership positions where I'm like very outgoing, but that's like not naturally like who I am. I think I'm also like I have a lot of doubt, I guess, especially taking on a Region 7 director position as an undergrad when I'm working alongside a lot of medical students. It's pretty intimidating, and I almost did not apply for this position, but I'm really glad I did. I was encouraged by T, the current membership vice president, to like just kind of apply because she had faith in me. I think that was really like that was really helpful for me to be able to hear that. It was really reassuring because I did have a lot of doubt on whether I would be able to like carry it out as well as like a medical student since medical students do have a couple years of experience on me. So I had a lot of that like worry of whether I would be able to be a good region director, and then same thing with president because that's like a leadership position is not really what I expected myself to like I wouldn't really expect myself to have so many leadership positions, but it's something that just kind of like worked out that way, and I've been really grateful for that. And I think yeah, just having encouragement from my members and then really working to the best of my ability like really helped with overcoming that like mental challenge.
I will just say you are doing an amazing job.
Thank
You are
you.
carrying yourself very well. And honestly, when I was setting this meeting up, I didn't know that you were like in undergrad. Not that like that should be a hindrance or anything, but I just want to note that like what you're doing, especially as an undergrad, like you mentioned, alongside other medical students, it can be intimidating. And imposter syndrome is, obviously a huge thing that most pre-health students go through. And I think I just want to applaud you, for all that you're doing, all that you've given back to the APAMSA community, the AANHPI community thus far. And I'm just really looking forward to what's to come for you in the years. Yeah, it's just amazing in my opinion.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that means a lot.
Of course. Kind of on that note, like if you could dream big, like looking towards the future within a PAMSA or maybe even just the broader and happy community aspect, is there something that you have, I guess the impact, what impact would you like to make in the next few years?
Interesting question. I
Mhm.
think, um, I guess for impact wise, I think I would like to see what we are doing right. Like I like all the work that APAMS is doing right now. I think we are doing great work, but if I could dream big, I think just like if we could increase our scale while also maintaining this like close relationship between all the chapters and all the members in APAMSA, I think that's what I would really wish that we could transition into in the next couple of years. I think APAMSA has done great things, and I really wish that everyone who's interested could be able to be a part of it. And I just really hope that we can continue our mission and impact several other like a bunch of other people.
Yeah, I completely agree. I believe APAMSA is like not like crazy new, but relatively new as an organization, especially at the national level, like overall. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing the growth that we have and obviously the impact that all of us and the members and just the community in general can play in that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah. And kind of gearing or navigating towards you as as an individual, your career aspirations and your interests. I kind of want to go a little deeper into that. So I know right now you're doing some research in Dr. Ying Hui Cho's brain imaging and TMS or transcranial magnetic stimulation lab. What is something that is exciting about this research that you're doing, and what brought your interest towards this?
Yeah, so I love talking about my lab. I joined my freshman year, which is pretty early, but I was just really fascinated by the work that Dr. Cho was doing in her lab. So she focuses on like Alzheimer's disease and then mild cognitive impairment, but I was originally really interested in neurodegenerative diseases just because my grandmother has Parkinson's. So I like that brought me to like a very like natural interest in like learning more about neurodegenerative diseases, which is why I'm like a neuroscience major. And I think like her lab really hit a lot of the interests that I was looking at. So like a lot of brain stuff, like neurodegenerative disease research. And something else that was really cool was the technology. So like transcranial magnetic stimulation, I read up a little bit about it like before joining the lab, and I thought it sounded so interesting. It's already being used in so many different cases, and like where the lab is exploring it in Alzheimer's disease and like memory impairments, which is something that's not quite FDA approved yet, but it's been used in research. And I think it's just so interesting to look at this like this novel not really that novel. The technology has been out for a while, but like the application and how we can use this like not non-invasive technology to help a lot of people with memory impairments. And I think it's just been really rewarding to talk to the participants in the study. I think that's my favorite part too. I really like that I can work with people in this lab. I think being able to talk to the participants and like learn about their day and how this study like is helping them in their daily life, I think that's like really exciting to me.
Yeah. The patient interaction is a huge part of this whole like experience in healthcare. And I think it's great that you're already like interacting with those participants like one-on-one or face-to-face because it really makes an impact. For our listeners, and myself, honestly, do you mind explaining what exactly TMS is?
Yes. So, TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, basically it's a big magnet, and you're gonna place it on someone's head, and then through the magnet, you can create like different electrical, like you can create electricity, and then that can change, like the electricity that goes on in your brain. So you can upregulate or downregulate certain parts of your brain depending on what you want and what the intended effect you want. And that can cause like different outcomes. So like it's used in depression, it can help with that. And then memory, it can improve like cognition and memory. So it has a bunch of different uses, but yeah, it's basically just a big magnet that you can put on someone's head.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, I guess like I've never heard of it. And so I think it was interesting to kind of learn more about it here. So I'll probably look more into it now. I'm glad to hear about that. Do you see yourself, you're bringing up that you are a neuroscience major and you're kind of interested in neurodegenerative disorders. Do you see yourself in a specific like neuro field? I know
Okay,
it's really early.
yeah, this is a question that like I've been thinking about a lot, especially since I'm planning to apply next cycle. I don't really know if I have a certain specialty or like an interest I want to pursue in medicine yet. I am leaning towards neurology just because like the research I'm doing is kind of aligned with that. But again, I really have no idea, but I'm like really open to anything.
Yeah. Very, very early. I just wanted to see like where you are. I just love asking people that to see like where their interest lies. So glad to hear. I love it. You seem very passionate about the whole field. And so it's already like amazing what you're doing. Okay. So kind of looking towards, maybe some mentorship and your experience through undergrad or beyond, have you had any like mentors or even mentees who shaped your path, whether it is in like the pre-health field or your leadership positions?
Yes, yeah. So I mentioned T earlier. T
Hmm.
is currently the membership vice president, but in my freshman year, she was our chapter president, and I think she's been like monumental in like my growth as a leader. And then same goes for the president last year, Tom Pham. Like I think both of them have really inspired me and shown like what a good leader looks like. And I think like they also were really encouraging of me, so every time like I had an idea, even like as a freshman, they were super supportive of it. And then like they were really happy to help with anything. And I think like having those like people to look up to, and they've accomplished such like amazing things, it really helped me like kind of figure out what I want, like what type of leader I want to be, what type of like pre-medical student I want to be, and it really helped a lot in like my professional development.
No, yeah. I love that you had that mentorship and the guidance almost to get to where you are and that they kind of instilled this passion in you for this because again, I think it's just amazing that you are here and all that you're doing. And in terms of your leadership and just everything that you've learned thus far, is there anything that you would like to share or pass down to like any of our listeners, any of the APAMSA members, or even like your chapter, anything that you think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, so I think the most important lesson I've learned as a leader is that, like, as a leader, you're representing like the best interests and like the needs of the people you're representing. So it's not really about you as a leader and what you want, it's what like the people want. So a lot of like in UA PAMSA, like Region 7, and even like my role on the APASC board, I think a lot of that, as a leader, it's a lot of representing what like you want to make sure you're representing the best interests of your people, and you're trying to get opportunities that will help them, even if that's not what personally like interests you the most. It's just you have to make sure you're centering yourself around the people that you serve. And I think once you do that, it's really rewarding to see the people you're like trying to help, to see them grow too.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think, obviously the representation matters. Like you are as the leader, the sole person that is representing that chapter and whatever leadership or organization. Like you are basically like the face of the members in most situations. So I think that it's very important, an important lesson to carry with into leadership. we kind of touched on imposter syndrome earlier, and it's a huge issue. I'm sure people go through it, combat it, defeat it. It comes back. um, have you ever encountered imposter syndrome in your life, of course, and how did you navigate that in terms of whether it be leadership or academics?
Okay, yeah. So definitely I feel like I've navigated like imposter syndrome. I think it probably happens pretty often, to be honest. I think like as a pre-medical student, I'm seeing all the amazing things that the other students like around me are doing. And I'm like, that's so cool. But also I'm not doing that. Like, am I gonna like be able to like be enough? So I think that's something that like I think about pretty often. But I think what really helped me is like reaching out to my support system. So for me, that's my parents. Sometimes when I am feeling a lot of imposter syndrome or like self-doubt, I'd like give them a call and they usually reassure me that I am doing like the everything that like the best that I can, and that's like enough because and also they remind me that sometimes I am just overthinking things. I'm thinking too much and then like I what I am doing is enough and I'm just comparing. Like comparing doesn't really have a purpose. Like people are their own individuals. What they're doing does not take away from what you're doing. It's just a different way of doing something. And I think being able to recognize that is has been very helpful. And something else that I just remembered that really helped me navigate this too as well. In my freshman year, a senior student in the same scholarship organization that I'm in, she mentioned how like it's difficult seeing other people like have the successes that you want, right? She mentioned like perhaps someone got an internship that you were really dying to get, but she told me to remember that like your time will come. Celebrating other successes well like it's great to celebrate other people's successes and like you it's okay to be sad that you didn't get the opportunity you want, but your time will come and when it comes it's going to be so much more worth it.
I I love the story that you provided at the end. I think it's really important to keep in mind because imposter syndrome, like we said, is a huge deal that a lot of people have to unfortunately encounter. And it's hard, like you said, to see others people succeed when, maybe you wanted to have that same level of success. But it's important to remember that everything I always tell myself that everything that will happen or everything that is meant to be will be. Um,
Mhm.
if you really are putting in the passion and the love, the dedication into whatever you do want to happen, your time will come. And it kind of reiterating like what you just said, I just think it's a really important thing to keep in mind and to consider. So I appreciate that. Looking towards the future, I know you talked about maybe neuro, we don't know yet,
Mhm.
but where do you see yourself maybe 5, maybe 10 years now in terms of like career or advocacy work?
Okay, interesting question. I guess in terms of career, I hope to like at least be in medical school or like I guess in 10 years, maybe hopefully residency. But yeah, I hope to like have achieved the career goals that I've been like trying to achieve as a pre-medical student. So I like really hope that the work I'm doing now I can continue in the future, continue having this impact on like the AANHPI community and then like hopefully give back to the pre-med community because I think side tangent, but I think there's a lot of like I think the pre-med community gets kind of a bad rap sometimes. Like everyone says it's pretty toxic. And I'll agree there's toxic people out there, but I think on a majority, like on a large scale, I think people are really supportive. And without people who are like who have been like pre-meds, like medical students who want to give back to the pre-med community, there's no way like I would be where I am now, and I'm sure like the same for others. So I really want to give back to the pre-med community. And then also like locally, I hope to give back to Arizona. I've lived in Arizona my entire life, so I hope to see the unhappy population of Arizona like really thrive. I think we're getting a lot of recognition and we're getting a lot of like visibility now compared to when I was much younger. But I hope this momentum continues. I would really like to see like Asian Americans really thrive here.
That's great to hear. I'm glad that there has been that momentum, and I hope it does continue. And I know that there are some initiatives going on with APAMSA and the larger organization. Is there anything at, your local chapter or maybe UC as national APAMSA that you think can collaborate with the larger healthcare system to make a lasting impact on and happy healthcare?
Yeah, so I think something that our chapter is trying to work towards is like increasing the number of health screenings we're doing. That's something that we started up last semester, and I think it's been really successful in like engaging the community. So we've been mostly doing our health screenings at this like local Vietnamese church, like primarily Vietnamese church, and that's allowed us to provide healthcare to a lot of people who might have trouble navigating the American healthcare system. A lot of the patients that we have seen so far, they might only speak Vietnamese, they might be elderly. They don't really they don't go to like American doctors that often simply because they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. So I think our health screenings, the goal is to plug them back into the system, give them a way to be able to like know how they should proceed further. We try to get like Vietnamese speakers at these screenings, and so they can like understand what they're like they can understand in their own language. And I think National PAMSA has been supporting us like immensely. There's like grants out there to support local chapters who are doing initiatives like this. And I think like a lot of schools, I know CompP did one for Hep B screening, I believe. So I think the fact that a lot of schools are doing screenings like this and engaging the unhappy community is already creating like a pretty big impact. And as long as we can continue this into the future, I like am hopeful to see like a huge impact.
Yeah. That's also something an initiative that I would like to start at my local chapter. And so hearing you talk about it, I'm hoping maybe I can reach out to you and your chapter for some advice to see, how we can start that since we are relatively new and kind of want to get some of these things started up and running. Kind of on a more fun note, I know you mentioned you love baking. You have a lot of hobbies actually. Well, first I kind of want to see like how do you balance the time of all of these leadership positions and still have time for these hobbies, or maybe you don't. Like I kind of want to see what how you balance all that out.
Hmm. Yeah, so there is a lot on my plate, and I think something that's really helped is like time management. Using my Google Calendar is my best friend. I always have that tab open; it's never closed. Just being able to like plan out my day and like budget time for that has been really helpful because like being able to kind of see that has helped like me visualize how much time I'm spending on each task and each commitment. And then something else that like I've learned through the past couple of years, months is like there's periods where I get more busy and consumed with like my commitments, and then there's periods where I can have more time like enjoying my hobbies. And I think that's something that I've just had to accept. I think like it's knowing that like it's not permanent, like how busy I am, that's not permanent. There's always going to be like another period of rest where I can like engage in like the stuff that are a little more fun to me, and like more relaxing has really helped too. Like there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Setting that time aside and just having something to look forward to is something I always tell myself as well. That light at the end of the tunnel, just look towards it and focus on it.
Yeah.
So one of your hobbies was baking. I kind of want to see like if you could bake something to represent a PAMSA, what would it be and why?
I think it would be a bagel. I think, okay, one, I really love bagels, but two, I think like circles represent like unity, and I think that's something that the APAMSA community really has, and I think it's really wholesome. So there's a hole in the middle. Yeah.
That's I love that. Are you the type of person to put cream cheese on your bagel? And do you like your bagels like heat up or specific, like they have like the everything bagel? Like this isn't related to like, a PAMSA, but like just like you on a personal level, what is your preference for that?
Yes. So I like things toasted. I like my bread toasted almost to the point where it's burnt, but like not quite, like very crispy. And then I like cream cheese. I also like avocados on my bagels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm not a huge bagel person, but I will always still eat a bagel. Like I'll never turn it down.
Mhm.
I think that's really much all the questions that I had. But is there anything that, any last final thoughts or anything else that you might want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. It's been a pleasure talking to you and then hopefully like the listeners. I hope this was engaging. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to have gotten to know you a lot more and just learn more about who you are. And I'm excited for everything that's to come for you. Good luck for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the upcoming conference, hopefully. Yeah, that's something we have to look forward to. Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much, Carol.
Well, I hope
Um,
to see you at conference soon.
yes, yes. All right. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning into White Coats and Rice. Be sure to follow us on social media at National APAMSA and stay connected with APAMSA for more episodes, updates, and community stories. Until next time, take care.